Hello everybody, this is the Adafruit CircuitPython Weekly for May 29th, 2018. I'm Scott, I work on CircuitPython for Adafruit, kind of as the project lead for the whole project, and I run this meeting every week. This meeting normally happens on Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern on the CircuitPython voice channel on our Discord. Discord is our chat service that we use to coordinate. It's kind of like Slack. If you're interested in joining, text chatting with us anytime during the week or joining the voice meeting, you can go to the URL adafru.it/discord, and that will get you an invite to our server. These meetings get recorded and they go up on our Adafruit YouTube channel in case people miss it so they can hear it later, along with notes that I take along with time codes that tell you when things happen in that recording. It usually lasts about an hour, and we start with a state of CircuitPython. We follow that with hug reports, which is a chance for you to say thank you to folks in the community for what they've done. After hug reports, we have status updates, which is kind of a software engineering sort of like, let's talk about what we did in the last week and what we're going to do this week. It's a great way to just get on board and sync up with everybody. Whether you're doing a project with CircuitPython or whether you're working on the core code, we want to hear about it. And then lastly, we have what we call the In the Weeds section, which is any longer topics that we wanted to cover when we're discussing, status updates or hug reports earlier. We can circle back to them in the weeds section and cover them in more detail. So I'll take a time code and we'll jump into the state of CircuitPython. 2 minutes on the dot. These are stats I pulled last night based on Adabot. As of last night, we had 8 pull requests merged. 4 different authors, in particular Elmwood Elec was a new author, so thank you to them. We had 3 reviewers, myself, Dan, and Carter, so thank you, Carter, for the review. We have 3 new PRs from 3 different authors, Brent, myself, and Dishipu. We've had 11 closed issues by 4 people and 8 opened by 7 people. Again, we're reducing the number of issues, which is good. We have 8, as of last night, we had 8 open pull requests. 3 of those are in the core repo and 5 of those are on the libraries, or 1 is on the build tools. So if you take a look at that and make sure they're not related to you. We have 124 open issues. Yeah, data meetings are not as fun. I'm glad you find this meeting fun. It is still a meeting. Download stats, 3.0 beta was released last week sometime, which is really exciting, and I guess we haven't had a meeting since then, so that's really good. We've had 83 total downloads. Most of those, or 10 of those were on the Metro M4 Express, 8 of those on the Feather Huzzah, and 21 on the Circuit Playground Express. And then download stats, our latest stable release is 2.3.1, and we're at 1,648 downloads there. We've got some improvements to do to repos, but nothing urgent, so just check the notes for that. In general, we are now in the beta phase, which is the phase where anybody who's using 2x should be able to come to 3x, maybe change their code, especially if it's doing audio stuff, and then it should work just fine for them. There's a couple additional features that we want to add, and then some bugs we want to fix. And once we get down to basically no bugs, we'll call it a release candidate. We'll do a release candidate and let that, like, people experiment with that for a while. And if we don't find any bugs, we'll make that the stable release. So that's how it goes. And we don't have that many issues, so I think our beta phase is going to be pretty short. We're also pretty confident in the stability of 3.0 as well, because with the Metro M4, it's been getting a lot of testing already. So soon, hopefully. All right, that's state of CircuitPython. Let's move on to hug reports. Hug Reports is a chance for us to say thank you to people in our community for the work that they've done. I will start, and we do this in a round robin format because we want to give everybody a chance to speak up and make sure that we have a chance to listen to everybody. So I will start first, and then Andon will be next. If you're text only, if you're not on voice chat, feel free to prep your blurb or even send it early, and I will read it off for you. So I'll get going. First and foremost, I want to thank Kattni for her 3.0 future-proofing of the libraries and example code. It's super important, and I'm glad that somebody is doing it. It is kind of like on the periphery of my radar, but I'm glad that Kattni's been doing that. It's one of those things that if you forget about it, it's going to be the thing that makes you take longer to do your stable release. So happy to see Kattni working ahead on that. So thank you, Kattni. I want to say thank you to Carter for the HT16K33 PR pull request review that they did. I think Carter is out this week. I want to thank Lady Ada for the Matrix Keypad library that she did last night. I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself because that was after I pulled the stats, but that's okay. And then lastly, I wanted to thank Craig and Kattni for the learning guide linting. If you weren't aware, all of the learn guides had a bunch of example code that we have in GitHub, but we weren't validating that it kind of fit with the Python style guide. And Craig in particular went through and redid a lot of the examples to match the lint stuff. And somebody else, Kattni, you should let me know. The person that actually set up Pylint was also really helpful. And then Kattni has been, Dylan. So Dylan did the Pylint RC stuff, and then Kattni's been kind of finishing that and like driving that to completion. So that was really good. So Kattni, thank you for following through with that. And reminding me of Dylan's name. I appreciate that. Okay, Andon, do you have anything? The sounds are different, aren't they? Andon says, hug report, customary group hug to all. Keep up the good work. Haven't really been keeping track lately, though. No worries. All right, C. Grover. Group hug to the 3.0 team, continuing to test older projects with the beta version and liking what I see. Hug for Tony D's historical CPy work on the OLED wing and the UART code, and to the folks who improved Bus.io. Thank you. Okay. All right, Dan.
I'd like to thank Lady Ada especially for just doing so much with 3.0 that she keeps testing all kinds of things in it and bringing things to our attention to fix.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's super helpful. She's a great tester. That was one thing I didn't appreciate Lamora's strength with until I started working with her, and then it was amazing to see, you know, the rigor that she applies to it that leads to the quality of all of what Adafruit does. So, totally.
Yeah.
All right, Deshipu. Are you around? Typing. Okay. Oh no. If you want to restart, I can circle back to you. Deshipu says he can't unmute. So Josh, you want to go?
Does my mic work?
I can hear you.
Okay. So I haven't really been paying attention either, but I'm going to take a look at 3.0 this week, hopefully. So thanks to everyone who's worked on that. And resources. I think CircuitPython is one of the strongest bases for resources. So it's nice to see everyone making some good resources. And to the people who are working on the gaming system, I'm really liking the look of that. So yeah, that's me.
Nice. All right. Deshipu says, thanks to Scott and Dan for helping me with Gamepad. Thank you for fixing up Gamepad. As Josh implied, it's going to be more and more useful going forwards. All right, Katney.
Yeah. So, hug report to Roy for helping me with some of the linting stuff. There were line ending problems on a bunch of files, and the GitHub way of fixing that is kind of monumental, including deleting the whole repo and starting over. And he, like, from memory, gave me a Perl script that just fixed it. So I was able to do that without a lot of craziness. So that was amazing. I want to give a hug report to Noe and Pedro for designing me a case for a project that I'm doing. I figured I would have to learn how to design things in 3D printing, and 40 minutes later, I had a brand new case in my email.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was totally amazing. And I want to give a hug report to Summersoft for his new guide that was published. Awesome.
Yeah.
And also for checking my work the other night, I was doing the newsletter super late and wanted to make sure that everything was actually correct, because I figured no one would catch it if all the links were wrong. So Summersoft double checked my work, and that was super awesome. So thank you for that.
Perfect. Great. All right, Nis.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good. I just want a hug report for Dan Halbert, because he stepped in on a matter where I was getting kind of off on a tangent, and he brought it back where it belonged, and I really appreciate it. I didn't say anything at the time.
Good. Thank you. And I will copy it as well. And Scott is ahead of me, which is good. Scott says, let's see, what time is it? 12:23. General kudos to all. Also had said yay for Perl in terms of the Roy's Perl script. All right, lastly, Summersoft. At O. David, Brent R., Katney, and Mike Barella for reviews, insight, and moderation on the Atmel Studio Guide. Group Hugorama for continuous support here and on the forums. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. That was Hug Reports. Let's move on to status updates. Status update is a chance to talk about what you're working on and what you're kind of working on, what you have worked on and what you're going to work on in the next week or so. It's a way for people to give you tips and advice about any hurdles and stuff that you've come up with, and also just be generally aware of what you're working on. I'll start as always. I worked a bit on reviving the Rosie CI last week. I made some good progress getting it going. I updated the box to new Ubuntu, but I'm still seeing some weirdness in terms of file system and serial access. It's like it's not responding to the serial very quickly sometimes. I have like a timeout that's 0.1, like a sleep that's 0.1 seconds to hopefully let it respond to the some commands over serial, and it's not getting the response it expects. So there's some work to be done there to make it reliable, but also potentially it's finding bugs in 3.0. So that will be interesting to work on, maybe after the bugs with issues get fixed, because those are more concrete and some of those are crashes. In that vein, I'm actually working on what I'm calling Rotary IO, which is adding rotary encoder support. It is a rotary encoder is kind of like a potentiometer, except you can spin it all the way around. And in that process, I decided to reorganize some of the files in the ports Atmel SAMD folder. Basically, I've started creating kind of my version of ASF4 a little bit, where it's just like, oh, I just need code to like turn on this peripheral or init the clocks and stuff. So Notro had come along and kind of like taken some of those files I did and split them apart into like a SAMD 21 version and a 51 version. And I'm actually like moving those into a subdirectory that does that more concretely. If anybody wants to check, it's on my GitHub in a particular branch if you want to see kind of what I've done with that. And we can talk about that later if people are interested. Lastly, for me, kind of in my quote unquote spare time / not spare time, Phil and Lamore posted a thing about the upcoming Python based gaming handheld that they're starting to brainstorm. And as you know, I've been really into retro game stuff. So I'm working on CircuitPython powered Game Boy cartridge, which I have made some more progress on. I've got it where I can like log the addresses that the Game Boy is trying to read from the cartridge itself, which is cool. And it kind of confirms and it matches what people have documented online. So my next goal is to get it so that for those of you who know Game Boy, it shows the Nintendo logo. It like scrolls down when a Game Boy starts up. You can actually replace that. And so my goal is to give it some other text so that it scrolls something else down. And then you actually have to provide the Nintendo logo so that it can verify that it's a legitimate cartridge. And then you're off on your own and you're in control of the CPU. So I'm trying to get my cartridge responding to the Game Boy's loads, which will be very, very cool. And oh yeah, thank you. CCL is custom logic stuff, which is cool. It's a new peripheral on the SAMD 51 that I haven't touched yet. So that's what I'm working on. That's the gaming stuff is in the evenings when I have a chance. The rotary stuff is what I'm going to be doing during the day, and I'm very excited about that as well. So that should happen in the next couple days. All right, Andon, do you have any updates? Status update. Last week I was in Seattle and met up with Scott, or with me. Much tech was talked, and now I own a Game Boy. I'm also planning on eventually making my digibadges CircuitPython powered, but that's far future stuff. Yeah, that was great. We got to go to a local used game store, and I got a Game Boy Pocket that's slightly broken that's now sitting on my desk, and yeah. It's called Pink Gorilla, if people want to look it up. So I got a Game Boy Pocket that was in need of a little love, so it's now sitting on my desk as a bare circuit board. That's what I've been using for testing, so that's great. And obviously I can get really distracted with this stuff, so I'm going to move on. All right, C. Grover. A week of fun with MIDI synthesizers, trying to figure out exactly what my MIDI controller keyboard was sending and why. Had to dive more deeply into the MIDI protocol than ever before, created a sniffer with CircuitPython that used a custom MIDI interface, Wing PCB, to feed the UART pins on a Feather M0 Express. Implementing the MIDI protocol stack in CircuitPython with verbose descriptions was a memory hog, but eventually was able to get the sniffer to fit on a Trinket M0. That's impressive. CircuitPython was sufficiently responsive to a 31.25K baud data stream. Didn't drop a byte. Once I figured out what I was doing, sniffer code is here. Link in the show notes for people who want to look that up. My Trinket-sized modular stackable interface PCBs should arrive later this week. The plan is to use the Rover boards to build some musical synthesizer projects, upgrade the string car to manage LiPo battery power, and significantly reduce the string car controller footprint. Hoping that Adafruit gets the hot air rework station back in stock this week so that I won't have to place an order with that faceless Amazon monster. Yeah, I don't know when they're coming in, but that would be good. Thank you, C. Grover. Dan.
I spent a lot of time in the past week working on Circuit Playground Express Cricket builds. We made a special version of CircuitPython for the Circuit Playground Express when mounted on the Cricket, which has it has a bunch of stuff. It has a bunch of the Cricket related libraries frozen in, And getting it to fit was a lot of trouble, and Scott helped me. We worked on that, trying to figure out what things, turning off certain things, but leaving on other things as much as possible. So that worked out. And right now, we also went through all of the bugs, Scott and Kattni and I, and we sort of assigned some of the remaining bugs to various people. And right now I'm working on the PDM microphone in on 3.0 just hangs after an arbitrary amount of time. So I have to debug that. So it's not, Limor found it while she was building a robot, but it has nothing to do with that. So write a simple program that makes it hang. So that's on my, I'm just setting up to test that right now.
Yeah, I am not a fan of PDMN. I'm gonna be honest and say thank you, Dan, for doing that.
Okay. Right. Since I worked on it in 2.x, I'll figure out. I'm familiar with it. All right.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. The Shippu. I fixed most issues with the microgame in CircuitPython 3.0. Pull request is in review. The last problem still left is the new memory requirement of Audio I/O, which makes the existing games not run anymore due to memory error. Next, I will try to optimize the microgame firmware a bit in terms of free memory and speed, remove any unused modules and options, play with the linker settings, make SPI transfers non-blocking, etc. The microgame turbo with the SAMD51 is now canceled, so I will have more time for software. I also tested the CircuitPython badge at the Hackaday Belgrade conference, and I'm very happy with how it works. Both the visibility of the display and the power consumption of the whole thing lasted 3 days on 3 AAA alkaline batteries. That's awesome. Why did the microgame turbo get canceled? Is that because of what Limor is working on? Oh, cool. I will copy this over. The Shipper says, in part, basically, I can't make it any better than Lady Ada will. Yeah. Lady Ada makes great hardware, that is for sure. Well, we'd happy to have you as a tester, as always, Dishipu. Okay, Josh?
Hello. So this week I have been preparing for the start of the local code club, which I'm starting tomorrow. So we're going to be doing some microbit stuff and some circuit playground stuff, hopefully tomorrow. But what I hope to do, if Discord wants to post the image, is make some of these cards that I've already made for Scratch, EdgeBlocks, and Python, but have some CircuitPython ones. So you've got the MakeCode EdgeBlocks, which I'm still working on and should be ready in the next few months, and then CircuitPython at the bottom. So it's kind of the hope to create something like that, hopefully, when EdgeBlocks is ready.
So that's like playing card size?
Yeah, so just like playing card, things that you can print out, and hopefully have like make code to CircuitPython a bit easier. Hopefully with those. So yeah, that's what I hope to work on.
Do you have a link for these cards?
Yes. Put it in the.
Perfect.
There you go. That should be it.
Awesome. I'll put those in the notes.
Thank you. But yeah, I'll update you next week on how the code club goes with the circuit playgrounds tomorrow.
Great. Happy to hear about it. And as always, if you have interesting stuff like this, feel free to pull request into the newsletter. Like we have the Python newsletter that goes out every week. We're happy to show off any EduBlocks stuff. So that'd be cool. All right, Katney.
So I didn't write down anything I did. So I don't
Too
remember
busy.
most of
Too
it.
busy to keep track.
So I've been working on the guide for the CPX Express class library, and dealing with that. Also, I apparently decided that it was a good idea to take on the Learn repo. And I've got it down to about, I want to say, like 45 more files that need help. And then we should finally be to a point where when it fails, we can actually tell the person that they need to go look at Travis and figure out what's wrong with their file and fix it. So I added consider using enumerate to the disable after discussing it with Roy, who made a lot of good points. I was already leaning towards it, but that clarified it for me. And I thought that seemed a bit weird, and I think Pylint, like to Dan said, is off base on that one. So we added that to the disable. But other than that, I kept everything else because the rest of it, I think, is all stuff that should be kept track of. For the most part, if it's what I'm doing with it is if it's like something like trailing white space or a line too long or something like that, I'll fix it. But if it's something really bizarre or that would require redoing the code completely, I'm just adding disable rules.
Okay, and then we can go back and reduce the disable rules.
Yeah, if that's the plan.
Are those disables in the file locally, or are they in a different place? Okay.
No. Each file, if it's something that would require like a lot of redoing in the code, has its own at the point of issue. Unless there's like 50 of it in the file, in which case it's at the top.
Right.
But it's starting at the first point of issue. We'll have the disable rule inside the actual file that is having the issue. I did not add it as a global thing.
Okay.
So I'm editing individual files to do this. But some of the stuff was stuff I didn't even know about. So I wasn't going to try and change the code.
Yeah.
In those cases.
Right.
But stuff like wrong import order, that's an easy fix.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where that's at.
If people want to help with that work, how would they do that?
Get a hold of me. We can, because that way we're not all working on the same stuff. It's pretty. I mean, I can explain exactly what I'm doing. It's actually pretty simple stuff. Pretty simple way to fix it.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking you could offload it to other folks too, ideally.
Yeah, because I was going to say I don't know how much of it I'm going to be able to even do this week because the guide is due. Should be done Friday, so I need to buckle down and get that finished. So I maybe heads down in that for most of this week.
Yep.
Other than that, I can't really remember what else I did.
Lots of stuff.
I think that's a valid statement.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what I got. That's what I'll be doing for the next week. And if anybody wants to help with the Learn Guide stuff, please message me.
Cool.
Because I would love to have some help on that.
Yeah, a break would be good regardless.
So that's it.
You've earned it. All right. Thanks, Katney. Nis, go ahead.
Yep.
Hey, I'll try to read this myself. Pulled into the rabbit hole writing firmware for the new Cricket CPX variant board. Have an operational force. Interpreter for the Cricket.
Cool.
Basis Itsubitsi M0 Arduino. CPX, Trinket M0, and Itsubitsi M0 can all be used as a base for this board. This is, of course, an off-label use of the Cricket. It bypasses the need for a bolt-on certain Playground Express for certain low-demand applications.
Nice.
Also built the, I know it's hard to let you in for the pauses. Also built the canonical firmware for Cricket and loaded it without difficulty. That was kind of fun. You need the same tools you use to build CircuitPython firmware It's the same tool chain. It's just it wanted Python in the path, but that turned out not to be a problem. Note the 3-terminal NeoPixel connector on the Cricut does not require any new software. It's a pass-through from the Circuit Playground Express and does not operate via I2C. That was in the guide, but it was easy to miss. CircuitPython's use of Cricut seems to me easy and intuitive, and I expect a short learning curve for newcomers once the basic concepts are understood. It's a lot of visual distraction to see all that stuff bolted together, but it's actually pretty simple conceptually.
Great. Thanks for doing all the Cricut testing. It's super helpful.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm back quiet.
If people wanted to know more about the 4th interpreter for Cricut, where would they go?
I'll post it. It's my GitHub. It's the same software I've been working on forever. I'm kind of obsessed with it. It's called Jaffa ARM, and I yet another 4th for Arduino.
Right.
And I have done the port for it. I'll put the link on right now.
Great. I'll put it in the notes. All right. Scott says, nothing to report yet as far as progress. Hopefully more next week. I'm thinking that I may mess with a Python Vim plugin as an intermediate step, attempting to interact with the microbit via UFlash and microFS and maybe bit.io before messing with the Thonny code. That's right. I need to reach out to them again and see how it's going. All right, Summersoft. Atmel Studio Guide is published. Congratulations. Ran a couple more iterations of trying to use the project from Makefile, still hitting toolchain hiccups. Won't be giving it too much attention. High frequency pulse-in. SAMD51 TC capture direct from pin isn't going well. Might just use the same method as the SAMD21, which is events trigger the TC interrupt. After that, I'll tighten up the documentation and push a PR to get it reviewed by professionals. I still need to research porting to other chipsets and or stub them. ESP8266 GPIO 12.configure should be a straightforward fix, just need to carve out some time. Awesome, thank you so much. We did reach out to somebody to do some work on the pulse in and pulse out for ESP 8266, so we'll see how that goes. Also, and happy to help with any of the high frequency stuff that you find. The SAMD51 actually has a frequency measurement peripheral on it that we could try to use as well for the 51, but not for the 21. Okay, we got everybody. So that is status reports, and I will copy Nis's link. Anybody have discussion topics? No?
I'm posting a link to the pull request.
For the
request for the Learn Guide repo. Yeah.
Okay. I will copy that into the notes. Hey, Roland, we're just wrapping up. Let's use a pre-allocated buffer. Okay, we got a couple things. First, we'll do Shipu. I'd like to talk about the audio I/O buffer if possible. Would it make sense for me to send a pull request that lets it use a pre-allocated buffer? Maybe. I'm open to exploring different options for it. So yeah, we can talk more about that. I'm not quite sure how the allocations varied between the previous one and the current implementation. So having an idea of like, here's where the allocations happen in 2x and here's where they happen in 3x now and how big they are, would be really good. So let's either like open a PR, or maybe an issue is better because we don't need code necessarily at that point. Right. The ship says it's a 512 byte buffer allocated on play. Right, but I guess I want to see where in the code it has, where in the code does it occur. Perfect. Dishibu is going to file an issue. So if anybody's interested in memory impact of playing back wave files, keep your eyes peeled for an issue on that. Next, we'll talk about C. Grover. Thanks, Andon. You can't hear me because you just left. Okay, C. Grover says, any plans to improve text handling for the OLED wing and the TFT wings? Did you have something to say, Dan?
Probably what you were going to say. I was that Limor has long-term plans to rewrite frame buff, which might improve the text handling. Right now, it's pretty awkward and not very well supported.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really see Grover's question or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in the same way that Dan's doing a lot of work for the Cricut right now, I expect that we're going to end up doing a non-trivial amount of work to make the experience for the gaming handheld really good. And part of that will be the audio stuff that Radomir's talking about, that Dishipu's talking about, but also improving our display support. So I fully expect that text handling and all sorts of display stuff will improve with that. One idea that we've had is to actually like have a DMA'd frame buffer under the hood, so that you don't actually, so your Python code doesn't need to wait while the display is actually updated. We'll just do that in the background for you. So yeah, we're gonna take a look at it, I think, is the gist of it. Okay. That satisfied C. Grover. All right, we're gonna do Josh's topic. I have a topic discussion. What are the plans? What are the next steps to get CircuitPython more exposure in the classroom? Are there plans to have classroom dedicated resources for teachers? I don't think so. We don't have anything. We don't have any we don't do a whole lot of structured content to the degree that teachers are generally looking for with lesson plans. The role that I think Adafruit tends to play with this is supporting the people who are interested in developing those resources. So providing support through hardware or content based, like allowing them to base those resources on existing Learn guides, for example. But I don't think Adafruit's ever really been very specific. I think part of that is that in the US, the education system's kind of weird in that every school district has its own kind of purchasing process. And so you end up spending a lot of time doing sales and marketing and stuff in the education world. So yeah, I would say we don't have any concrete plans. But we're happy to help people who do want to work on it. And Summersoft points out that we did create a classroom channel on the Discord as a discussion resource. If anybody has other topics, please type those in. I will say that for those of you listening, if you do want to join the classroom channel on Discord, again, the link is adafru.it/discord. That will get into our Discord, and then on the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of channel names that start with a #/#, or also known as a hashtag, and just take a look for the #classroom channel. All right, anything else? Any Game Boy related stuff people want to talk about? The thing I can talk for days about. Did you have something else, Katney?
No, just hint, as in you hinting.
Well, yeah, what I'm really interested in talking about. The rotary encoder stuff looks cool too. I'm excited to work on that.
Let me know if you need that tested. I did get one ordered up.
Okay. I do have one that is fun to like use as a fidget spinner on my desk here. It like feels so much better with a knob on it. It's kind of amazing. Several people are typing, so I'm gonna continue to make small talk while I play with a rotary encoder. All right. I don't think anybody has any more topics. Yeah, an I2C rotary encoder breakout would be useful. And Josh says he's working on his first learn guide, a microbit EDU blocks light up the house with NeoPixel rings. That's awesome. And see, Grover, you should totally make the breakout. Use Seesaw. That'd be cool. All right, I'm going to wrap up. So thanks again for everybody making the meeting today, and particularly given that we changed the time. In the future, for those of you who may have missed the meeting because we moved it, I try to always post updates on when the meeting is happening in the CircuitPython channel on Discord under pinned messages. It's in the top right. It has a push pin icon. Check there. Again, the Discord link is adafru.it/discord. Happens normally on Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Everybody's welcome to join in, either to listen, to lurk, or to actually participate fully with a microphone and everything. We love to hear what everybody's working on in CircuitPython land and all related things. So, as always, thanks to everybody for joining.
Thanks, everyone.